The story continues with Song-hee buying Jin coffee, apologizing for encouraging his attempt to set up a meeting between Lee and Chi-mika. Meanwhile, director Joe announces to the producers, including Lee, that another musical audition is necessary due to the lack of a lead actor, despite the tight schedule. Later, Lee calls Chi and she realizes he's intentionally keeping his distance to protect her timer from counting down rapidly. They speak over the phone, maintaining eye contact as Lee tells her he won't do anything to harm her. He also acknowledges that Chi only rejected him because of her timer, regardless of her loving him. The next day they stumble upon each other in the company hallway. Lee has no choice but to walk past her. Chi notices her clock stopping as Lee walks near her, and it starts counting down again once he walks away. Lee meets with B and tells her to stop sabotaging his business, but B has an excuse for everything. She also claims she heard Lee and Chi broke up and is ready to take him back and accept his proposal. However, Lee tells her he has no feelings for her and there's no future for them. But B isn't easily deterred. They meet again at a family gathering where B acts as if everything is fine. Lee's father instructs him to take care of his business and then arrange his wedding with B. Lee tells everyone he and B aren't getting married because he feels nothing for her, then walks out. B follows him, begging him to be together, but Lee tells her to leave him alone before he starts feeling disgust for her. Jin and Song-hee meet again and share that both Lee and Chi are miserable because they aren't together. Jin meets Chi at the company and tells her she should go to Lee's house to pick up some clothes she forgot in the washing machine. Chi walks to Lee's house just as B corners him outside, asking for another chance. She tells him she doesn't need him to love her, just to be with her, and she can endure the rest. The scene ends with B grabbing Lee's hand and Chi-mika turning away in disappointment. Chi then walks away while Lee retracts his hand from B and tells her he's sorry but he can't be with her. B goes on to change her hair and continues her act when she meets Chi at the company, telling her that she and Lee made their wedding plans and are going to get married. Later that night, Chi meets with director Joe. Joe realizes she has a deep emotional understanding of the musical's main character, so he decides and tells Lee that the audition will take place among the actors they already have, and the one who deserves it will be the lead. B keeps pressuring Lee about both their marriage and the partnership he wants to establish, while at the same time, his father calls him and asks why he behaves so poorly and rejects his wedding with B. Lee feels overwhelmed and goes out that night to drink his suffering away. Jin can't watch him like that and calls Chi, who joins them and is able to stop Lee from drinking. The next day, Jin is worried about Lee, but Lee has decided to end what makes him miserable and will stop depending on others. First, he announces that the company will take on the responsibility for the musical, and the actors will have to choose whether to stay with Joe or join the company's production. Secondly, he meets with his potential partner and tells him he's not interested in being in business with someone who can be so easily manipulated by B. On the other side, Chi receives a text message that says Ms. O has passed away. She rushes to the funeral, meeting Lee right outside the entrance. When they walk in, they realize that this is actually a party rather than a funeral, even though the guests are all wearing black clothes. Ms. O is alive and well and explains she wanted to have her funeral before she died to meet all her friends and talk about things she never got a chance to. If all of her friends came to her funeral while she is dead, what would be the meaning of it? Ms. O gets a moment alone with Chi and reveals she has the same ability as Chi and can see the timers on people. She shares her own story, saying she fell in love with a man who had just 1 year of life left, and her time started transferring to his, leaving her with no choice but to abandon him. Chi asks her if she knows anything else about their ability, and Ms. O says she can't control it either. One thing she assumes is that the clock is affected by extreme emotions, either good or bad. Later on, Lee gets a chance to speak with Ms. O, and he also finds some notes that Chi has written and hidden inside a stuffed teddy bear. Meanwhile, Chi talks with Song-hee and tells her that her clock is frozen when she is at a safe distance from Lee. Lee approaches Song-hee and tries to ask her for information about Chi-song. He tries not to give out much, but Lee starts putting his thoughts in order and takes Chi to his office, asking her about his time. Chi tells him he has 60 years and 333 days left, but when Lee asks her about what's happening with her own time, Chi refuses to answer and runs out. Right next, Lee pays Chi a visit outside her house and tells her what he suspects, that Chi is keeping her distance because something is happening with him instead of her. Chi tries to avoid telling him the truth but eventually admits it, explaining that Lee's life was transferring to hers when they were together. Lee says there's no point in keeping his time if he has to stay away from Chi-mika, and they both end the conversation with a kiss. Next, Lee tells Chi that she is not going to be alone anymore and he will stay with her, but Chi says that she can't let that happen, knowing that his life will be reduced because of her. They are interrupted by Chi's mother, and Chi begs Lee not to make things harder for her because her mother knows nothing about her abilities. Chi intends to run away from Lee, but Jo's announcement that she is going to be the new lead actor for the musical almost changes her mind. Lee learns about it and tells her she should perform in the musical because that was her dream, and promises that he will not be anywhere near her, and they will only see each other from a safe distance that keeps their clocks in their normal state. Lee's father and B continue pressuring him, and they arrange a meal with B's parents so they can make their wedding official. Lee decides to show up at the gathering only to announce that he does not want to get married to B and he is not going to. B goes on the offensive and tells Lee's father to talk some sense into his son, or otherwise she will turn the press against their companies, which would be devastating for them. B also meets with Chi and threatens her that she has the power to cancel the musical, but Chi can save herself and the rest of the actors if she runs away and gives up on Lee. Lee approaches them and takes B to his office, telling her that he is not going to change his mind because he can't live without Chi. Then B walks out of his office in a depressed state and walks past Chi, who is able to see B's timer on her leg. B's timer fluctuates between 54 years and 3 minutes, and Chi immediately tells Jean to call Lee because she thinks B is heading to the terrace. Chi and Lee run after B on the terrace, trying to talk her out of committing the unthinkable, but B tells Lee she can't live without him either. B's clock starts counting down from 10 seconds. B leans forward, intending to let go, but Lee grabs her and saves her, restoring her life, which has now returned to 54 years. The following days, B unexpectedly visits Lee in his office and tells him she did everything she could to win him over, but nothing worked, so now it's probably time to let him go free. They make peace with each other, and later, Lee goes for a walk with Chi while maintaining their distances in order to keep their timers unaffected. Chi says she wants to hear him sing, and Lee sings for her, resulting in both of them feeling quite romantic and saying that they love each other. It's eventually time for the musical to take place, and B visits Chi backstage after the end of the first part and wishes her all the best, saying that she would feel better if the woman she lost her man to was famous, rich, and successful. After the musical ends, Lee grabs Chi's hand and takes her back to his house. He keeps the lights off until he covers his neck with a hoodie and wraps a piece of cloth around Chi's wrist, so they can enjoy their time together without being able to look at their clocks. They spend a beautiful night together, and the next morning Lee brings breakfast to bed for Chi when she gets a moment alone. Chi checks the timer on her wrist and is surprised by the speed with which she is gaining life. A moment later, Lee tells Chi to go out for a walk to get some fresh air, and they end up among the aisles of a supermarket to do some shopping. But this whole time, Chi is worried that she is stealing Lee's time, so she escapes as soon as she gets the chance. Chi meets with her friend Song-hee and asks her to visit her house and collect some of her clothes because she is in a hurry to leave town since she doesn't want Lee to find her. Song-hee goes to her house but she can't hide the truth from Chi's mother and brother, revealing every single detail about Chi and the timers. Chi's mother meets with her and asks her if the story about the timer is true. Right next, she meets with Lee and asks him to save her daughter from running out of time. While Chi is alone and walks on the crosswalk, she realizes her clock is gaining time rapidly, and she is acquiring many years of life. When she turns around, she sees Lee is standing near her, and his time is transferring to hers. She tries to run away from him, but he runs after her and grabs her hand right in the middle of the road, which causes a car to hit them. That event launches a flashback where we see Chi playing with her grandma and getting hit by a car. Her grandma protected little Chi and absorbed most of the hit. That event made young Chi watch the timer on her grandma's arm. We also see that young Lee was sitting in the back seats of that car, alongside with his father. Young Chi was transferred to the hospital where she cried about her grandmother. Lee approached her and held her hands tightly, a gesture that connected them to each other. Years later as adults, Chi and Lee bumped into each other on a crosswalk, and that made Chi look at her timer and other people's timers for the first time. When the flashback is over, Chi wakes up in a hospital room and immediately looks at her wrist, but now she can't see her clock. Lee walks into her room and he is perfectly fine. The series ends with a sequence which presents that their lives have fallen into place, and they are now living together, happier than ever before. And that's where the story ends. Please like and subscribe to support the channel and share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video for more fun recaps.